What's going on, guys? We're gonna finish. Uh-oh. Okay, so what happened? Well, couple things. Luckily, none of the issues were related to anything leaking or not working, other than our disk drive. Now, for some reason, and this is a common issue, one, just disk drives and Xbox in general, but on the Xbox One, like the position sensor, it not wanting to take discs in. So there might be something when I took it apart to clean, either the sensor still has something on it, or the actual position, to reset it isn't working. Because I've tried putting the thing into the side. It seems like it resets it, and then you turn the system off and back on, then it'll pull the disc all the way in, and then you can eject it. But once you do that, nothing works. You gotta like manually push it all the way in, and then it still won't eject for some reason. So we're gonna have to look at that. On top of that, our flow meter. These in general are finicky. You can see any other flow meter has like a wide propeller in there that clearly is in the path of the water. These things, they have a very thin propeller in there, and it's not exact, it's kind of smooth. There's not really like fins on it. And especially if it's in a horizontal position, it's either all the way down, which is technically like out of the way of the path of the water. They also want you to have it go crisscross like this, even though it really seems like it should go straight across, just like these, or any other flow meter I've had, I guess. Now the one on the 1S seems to be working. Really didn't want to spin up at first, but after it finally got going, it seems to be fine, and you can see it's actually floating now in the middle. Long story short, I was able to get it to spin when I had this thing like upside down, but because the system is only going to be horizontal, that's the only way it was really designed. I guess they do probably have some stands for it, but I just don't want something to be unreliable here. This is kind of was the main thing when it came to how this was going to look in the end. Lots of cool little features, blah blah blah, but having this propeller right behind that Xbox logo was kind of the main thing I thought would be really cool there. So we are either going to try and swap this one, and this does mean kind of changing some things out. Now luckily we don't have to mess with any of this other stuff. We can pop this out just by unplugging these. We can lift this up. That's why I put very little adhesive on this. We can pop this off, and we can even take this out without having to remove this bracket, hopefully, that our Wi-Fi thing is connected to, and have to unplug all that kind of stuff. We should be able to just pop this right out. Why do I have Vader out here? Well, this one also has a flow meter, and this was probably the other one I was going to use, if not this one, because I don't actually want to use this one. This one leaks. Even though I think I could just flip the acrylic around, maybe that'll do something. Anyway, so if we end up using that one, this is a fully clear one, but it does have the extra port, which might help us out, because if we do this, we still have that hole here, and I don't just want to leave a random hole in the side of this, even though I guess I could just plug it with something, but I don't really want to do that. We still want to have that drain port out the side. That was actually super helpful in emptying all of this so I can get it taken apart. So we'll just have to have some kind of T-fitting, which is that one we have on the outside, because that was short on 90-degree fittings, but I figured with the clear plug there and everything, it still kind of looked nice. But if we need to move that to the inside and have an elbow here, I'm not worried about it. It's going to have the same kind of clear effect in that corner. But that should be able to fit just right here, and that block there has ports on all different sides, so we can just pick one. Now the only issue with that is this would then be in the way, this one top piece here. Now we could just cut the top off and get a shorter screw and still plug it in, and it should be fine if we go that route. So we're going to have to try that out. And on top of that, back to Vader, I'm going to go ahead and put this flow meter inside this one. And on top of that, I just want to put this fan on 5 volts. It is the loudest part of this, even though it's still quiet. That's just going to make it totally silent. And it's a big enough fan, 5 volts is still going to be plenty. And the single red LED behind it, it just sucks, and it's not bright enough. So I want to have a brighter light behind there, And this was also sort of bothering me. It just didn't need to be that thick. This was really just a step down to get this grill to fit. But to fix that, I'm just going to put this right to here. And then we're going to put the grill still can screw into place above this. Now obviously the paint came off in some of the corners from having this attached to it, so I'm going to obviously repaint this. But I also want to paint this grill in the same gray that is on the top piece of the Xbox One, and we'll have this behind it, so it'll be a lot slimmer. Not a lot, but enough. So anyway, I'm going to kind of revamp this one, whether we use that meter or not. But this one's the priority, so let's get those stuff off. Okay, so we're further apart here. We've now got the other flow meter taken off. Got this one spun in place, and this is sort of what we're looking at. We'll have a cap on this side. I guess I could put the plug fitting in there if I wanted to. Not really necessary. As I said, this one's clear, and the UV LED strip goes all the way behind here. So this will be about here. We'll make sure that hole still lines up with that hole on the side. Now it will be a lot closer. We can shorten up that piece quite a bit. It will still probably stick out a little bit farther, but this kind of solves all the problems, and this will no longer bump into the flow meter housing, so that'll be a little bit easier of a fit. Alright, got it back together enough to test. Got this hooked up, and obviously instead of putting the top piece on with the top radiator, we're just going straight into here instead of into the rad and then into there. So we're going to add a little water into this, that way it can be on long enough to kind of test the disk drive out without putting the whole top piece together, all that extra nonsense. It looked like this may have skipped some teeth, so I just kind of reset it, and we're going to see if that works. If not, I'm going to put the original power cable in. I guess there's a chance that it's drawing power from all we have in there is the UV LEDs, which wouldn't make any sense, but I have read that that's an issue, and I haven't actually drawn power from an Xbox One power or a DVD drive before. Everything's been powered from the fan, plug-in, and the hard drive. So after a quick test and putting the regular cable back in, the one that came with it, it seemed to work fine, other than now having to reset that track a little bit. So I guess that means, yeah, you can't really power anything off that. It doesn't like it at all. So very easy. We're not going to use this single LED anymore. We're just going to cut the wires there, splice them into the other UV LED strips. After making another mess on pretty much the only surface I have left in here, as I said, putting in the other power cable did seem to be part of the issue. But after taking it apart again, it looks like the actual teeth, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Oh, here we go. Something is screwed up here, and the teeth are actually kind of chewed up over on this side. And this piece no longer actually seems to be, it should be attached to one of these shafts here on the bottom. So I think something was just given out, and it just happened to finally fully disconnect. I really didn't go too in depth with cleaning it. I mean, it pretty much almost looked like the way it does now. Definitely not like the rest of the Xbox. But I do happen to have a spare Xbox One S drive. Now, I know these are different. They're different model numbers. I've read that they're different internals. And I'm willing to bet the real only difference is the actual lens assembly, which we have here. This is what we pulled out of our Halo Xbox drive. And everything there seems good. I really think the only issue was the disc going in and out, because once it was in, it seemed to load up. Now this one here, you can see as I move this piece, there's a shaft down here that's also moving. So that's not happening on this one. And I would try to reconnect it. I don't know how to take apart that front piece there, because it's somewhere inside of there, and I really think something just kind of snapped off. So I'm just going to take a chance and assume, you can see our motherboards are exactly the same. Obviously the One S is meant to read 4K, that's why I assume they mean that the lens assembly is different. Okay, hopefully testing for the last time, I have the One S drive in here. I put the DVD in. It tried to pull me to the marketplace to download the Blu-ray app. I put a game in, and it didn't recognize it because of the daughter board in here. So now we can just swap those, and even easier than doing a 360 one that has multiple wires, these just have a red and black wire. Okay, here's our little open-faced Xbox setup here. I just put through this fan on here so we still have some, well, a fan. I wasn't even going to say anything, but these things happen, so why not? This is actually the second time I'm testing this out with the board. Now, the original daughter board from this Xbox is now inside this Xbox One S, and we swapped the lens assembly over, and it was just making weird noises and not doing anything. And then I took it apart and realized I didn't plug in any of the ribbon cables. I soldered that board in and then moved on to the LEDs and stuff, and then I guess I just threw this back together. So I put the ribbon cables back in. It still seems strange, and it seems like you really got to push the disc in. But once it grabs it, it goes in and it's great. So, like, I put in Need for Speed, and it immediately started downloading Need for Speed. So that was working. I just threw a DVD in there, and I guess they don't have the Blu-ray app or whatever to play DVDs on this system as of now, so I had to go through logging in, setting up the internet, and now it won't let me do anything unless I update. It says update or skip and stay offline. So we're doing this so we can make sure our Wi-Fi situation all works, and then we're good to go. Then we can take our temporary tube off of here and actually put it back together, hopefully for the very last time. This is why I like 360s. There wasn't an update every time you turned on your system. There we go. It is working. Alright, so I had to download the Blu-ray app, obviously, do an update, do this and that, and all this other stuff. I clicked on the disc, and then it said, something cannot decode the audio, or something. I'm like, oh no. But it said just go to settings and deselect decode audio, and I just did that, and boom. We're playing, there's video, there's sound, disk drive is good, it's dead silent. Ta-da! If it just makes a little groan when it turns on or off, then I guess we're good. But I think it's time to go ahead and add some UV blue dye. And real quick on the side, we did take these extensions off of Vader, and I probably could take the second one off, and this would almost be flush on the side, but that would literally defeat the purpose of having it stick out here and make it really easy to drain the system. Alright, things seem good. We are staying under 25 Celsius so far. I mean, all I did was load up a movie, but obviously whatever game I put in, it's going to have to download the game. Like I threw a Need for Speed, and it's like 17 gigabytes. So I'll probably have to do that real quick so I can at least game on it, test it out for a while. But for now, it looks awesome. I Really glad I swapped out the flow meter. I know it doesn't take up that full space, but man, that looks good, especially with that UV blue and that cube here. That purple's pretty much gone. Everything is just blue. Game installing now. We'll check in on the temperature when it's done installing and circle back to this after I'm done with Vader. It said 2 hours, but I plugged it in to Ethernet, so we only have 17 minutes. Let's get Vader drained. Base plate and top vent off. We took this piece that we were originally putting on the Halo 5 Xbox. It's actually going to be on here, and we're going to cut that tubing down. It did have these extenders, but we just used those on the Halo Xbox. So let's go ahead and dump this out. Technically, you can also access this port on the radiator as well, but that's not really necessary. This one's pretty easy to empty out. I mentioned repainting and taking off the adapter plate on this to kind of slim this down at least quite a bit. And we did repaint those, and you can now clearly see that Death Star in the middle. Very cool. Draining this and refilling it with distilled water. I'm going to turn it on again. You're going to see that water drop down as it fills the radiators. And we're just looking for pink. It looks like there's still a little bit of pink in there. I only drained it out twice. We'll probably do it one last time and then get as much of that water out as possible. That way when we're taking stuff out here, I'd rather have distilled water drip than coolant. Even though coolant is obviously meant to be non-conductive, it's still going to leave like residue on there. There we go. There is the slightest pink tint, but I gotta be honest, I did expect there to be some staining on some of the stuff, but I mean, I don't see any residue on the block or flow meter, any of that stuff. And real quick back to here, we're done downloading 24.4. Since this is done, I'm going to go ahead and play on this for a little while, and we'll check the temps again. After some gaming, cutscenes, online, it went up to 29 and then starts to go down, and then starts to go up a little bit, starts to go down, so that kind of tells us that's where we sort of reached our cap. And remember, this is the water temperature leaving the CPU block. And man, do I like that flow meter. It's just afraid of 30 degrees Celsius. Alright, I got a little excited, got it apart, put down some paper towels underneath the stuff that we are removing, so this was just going straight to here. I'm just starting to take that off, and we need to remove this section here, and then we're also going to deal with a little bit of wiring changes, change out a couple of LEDs, and put our fan down to 5 volts. So I think I can take that leftover extension piece there and put that between the block and that fitting and push this whole thing back and then have our meter there. Because if we just attach it here, it's going to be probably too far over this way and you won't really see it as much, and it's still going to block the water blocks, I mean. So if we can move this out so you can see all 3 of those and still have the room here to get back to our reservoir, then we should be good to go. Okay, not a whole lot different. I ended up not being able to fit that big one in there just with the different elbows or 90-degree fittings and double rotaries and all that kind of stuff. This one's just too close to go straight shot pretty much to the fan. That's why it had to be a hose to kind of snake around that. And putting it over here is, again, just going to have it pretty much in the same spot, blocking the water blocks. So now you should be able to see a little bit of everything, hopefully. Kind of have this weird thing over here to get it back here instead of it coming across. So it's just kind of to clear up space in the middle to look at the water blocks and whatnot. We still have the UV light in there. I did switch this one out for green. It should be wired up to the temperature display switch. And I did move the red LED somewhere else. We'll look at that when it's all together. Okay, not good. Let's try again. Okay, version 2, or if we're counting all of Vader's versions, 6.5. There we go. I think that looks a bit cleaner, especially without that adapter here on the front. It's a lot slimmer, and we should check out our lights here in a second. Now we're putting all our cards in, put it all the way back together. I'm going to go ahead, put some of that red fluid in. plugged in. We still got our red standby light. Now as soon as I turn this on, I'm going to have to get ready to add some more fluid. Get it filled up. There we go. It's spinning. Everything's red. We've got our green light for the Death Star. And I'm glad that worked out the way it did, so you can still leave it on and not have this annoying green light that takes away from all the red. And obviously I'll turn the lights on so you can see it a little bit better. But over here, and finally a little bit of red over here. That didn't show as well as I thought it would, but go ahead and pop this off. Oh boy, I see what I did now. So none of that is on the switch now, it's just this. I see what I did when I crisscrossed those. Anyway, let's pretend that didn't happen. I'll go back and fix that real quick. Make sure our backlight still works. Can't sit with us. Heck yeah. That's actually really cool. Alright, so I'm going to have to switch that one 3-pin connector. But look at that. The way this loop is now, it's definitely pushing water a little harder into the reservoir, so you really get that splashing around there. We'll obviously still top it off, put the cap on there. And we still need a hard drive. Since I got the one for R2, that one turned out pretty good, so I'm probably going to order a similar one. Alright, let's put it next to the Halo one real quick. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Let me know which one of these is your favorite. Don't forget to not like, comment, or subscribe to my channel.